This is a faith and fitness event. They're praying, they're working out, they're doing small groups, and Nike's paying for it. I'm like, this is wild.
I was at Nike for 5 years, constantly trying to prove myself. Like, I will tell you, I spent every single extra money that I had on certifications. And it wasn't even just to learn. It was like, I need another title under my belt. I was like, I want to be the next Jillian Michaels, but the nice version. I feel like before Christ, I was so ambition-led, and now it's just spirit-led.
Come on.
You know, like, I'm just like, tell me every day I wake up, just tell me what you want me to do today.
Welcome to the Faithustle Podcast. I am so excited for another conversation. Every single week, we bring on Christian entrepreneurs, content creators, people who are building businesses God's way to give you a blueprint and inspiration of how you can do the same. Today is no exception. I have an incredible friend with me. But before we get into it, I got to thank my friends at Lux Creative. Their studios here in McKinney, Texas are beautiful. And if you want to start a podcast or you have a podcast, this is a great place to record and film your show. Got a link in the description for you. Tell them I sent you. They'll send you a generous discount. Thank you, Lux Creative. Love you guys so much. Today, I have we've gotten to know each other over the past few months, but it feels like we've known each other for years. She loves the Lord. She is a trainer. But she's more than that. She has built a huge online presence and training community and is one of the first minority women ambassadors for Nike. And she's going to just share some of her experience and her story and how Christ has changed her life and how she's building her business God's way. So without further ado, we have Bettina Gozo.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. And it does really feel like we've known each other for such a long time.
No, it's flown by. We sat down. What was it? It would have been before the first event.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So November, December, maybe?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. But like hit it off right away. And just have been just so blown away by just your life, your story, and how God's using you in the fitness space, and just how you're letting Him be a light. It's amazing.
Thank you.
We go to the same church.
Yep.
This is amazing. She is a beast of a bass player, by the way. I was not expecting that at all, and I'm like, hold up, and like. You play with like such passion, just like a big smile. And I'm like, this is amazing.
Thank you. It's so fun being up there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get to play together one day.
I don't hope so.
That would be amazing. Cause like with your smile and my stank face that
everyone's going to feel the joy. They're
going to feel something. I've never been able to play straight where I'm just like,
oh no, I can't. I don't think I could do that either.
I have way too much emotions and just like, I feel the music too much.
100%.
You know, but anyways, it's so good to be with you. I'm so glad you're here on the show. I want to get into obviously layers of your journey. We'll kind of give some great practical handles for some of the new entrepreneurs. But again, I kind of teed it off in the beginning. How long have you been with Nike?
At this point, it'll almost be 15 years.
Oh, 15 years?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it makes me feel old, but yes, 15 years.
Which, by the way, listen, Filipinos don't age. It's like black people, we do not. Because when you told me your age, I was like, genuinely, I thought, oh, she's got to be in like late 20s, early 30s, maybe. And I'm like, there is no way. 15 years of woman. Of course. I'm not even saying that. I'm just like, there's another guy. He's been on the show. He's also Filipino. Vance. Ross. Shout out to Vance. He's from the Bay Area in California. And he's like almost 40, but the dude looks like he's 25. Like, I'm not even kidding. It's like, he has 4 kids. I'm like, how do you have 4 children and like 40? Like, anyway, it's ridiculous. But,
15 years.
15 years with Nike. So how did you even get into all that and working with them? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Honestly, I feel like I was always living in prayers that were prayed for me by my mom and my grandma. And I feel like they just were like, I think that this girl can do something. And I was just being a trainer. I used to play in a band full time.
Come on.
And wasn't the healthiest version of myself. I mean, it wasn't the version that I would say I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
But strength training is really what changed my life. And so when I started strength training and becoming a trainer, I was a fitness director at a gym, and I was teaching classes, just being me. And one day, some woman just came up to me. She was taking my classes for weeks, and she was like, "Hey, Bettina, by the way, like I actually work for Nike, and I'd love to have lunch with you sometime."
That is wild.
I'd only been a trainer for maybe a year at this point.
Really?
And I remember thinking, wait, am I getting punked right now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
No. And, she offered me a contract and she's like, we really want to start using you for this and that. And I mean, the next few years were kind of a blur, but it was incredible. I mean, I couldn't even believe the opportunities that were given to me, but it was, I mean, I never knew that I would ever do anything like that, especially living the life that I was just a few years before that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you literally were playing in bands
Yes.
to training for Nike, which
Yes.
is what, and like, this is like, and across their whole brand.
Yeah.
Because they have their Nike fitness app.
Yeah, so it was called Nike Training Club. And
Gotcha.
at the time we had Nike Women and Nike Training, and they had merged it at that point for like, to make it more about training versus just fitness.
Got it.
Because it was, previously it was more like fitnessy, like more like bouncing around, dancing. But then we really wanted to embrace like women doing strength training. And because I was doing that and I was really empowering people with strength training, it was something that Nike was just like, you know what, let's start putting her in the app. I was in my mid-20s, so I was on the campaigns. I was in the app and leading workouts across the world. I mean, I was in Paris. I've been to Uruguay. I've been all over the world with Nike.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's such a blessing.
And all from like a person that was in your class that you had no idea.
No idea. Like I knew her name was Becky.
Yeah. Shout out to Becky. Yeah. And it's funny if like, that's such an entrepreneurial journey. Like I remember one of my bigger clients that I had over the past few years, they ended up being a client for like 5 years. I got that because I filmed a wedding that I didn't even want to film, to be honest with you. I was like done with weddings. But it was a friend of mine. I was like, sure. Well, the maid of honor of that wedding worked for this big firm, this big law firm. And they're like, hey, we're looking for someone. It was like a few months later. And it's like, I loved your work. I loved your spirit. I think you'd be great. And then like, ended up working with them for like 5 years, And it's like, you just never know.
You just never know.
You never know. So you always have to just bring your best, right?
Yeah, 100%. And God puts you in those little places.
Yeah. And
you just have to show up as your best, like you said. And I think she knew that I had just that passion for encouraging people. And, like you said, I was one of the first Filipino minority women and even just women in strength and conditioning in general. Because with strength and conditioning, it's mainly men. So I remember when I first started there, I was like, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, especially being so young and new in there. And I was like, it's Nike, So, I mean, I really felt like I was just like, okay, I'm spending all my money on every single certification, all the titles, all the things to make me feel like I was like validated, So, and that was really before I found Christ. I felt like, like it was one of those things where I was just like trying to go for validation, even though I was already chosen, It's like, not even just chosen by Nike, but
by the Lord,
And so, I just felt like I kept having to be like, okay, all right, what am I doing here? Who am I serving? My mindset really had to shift from like, what is my growth trajectory here? Because I felt like I was just like, how else can I grow? Are they going to keep picking me? Am I going to do this? And I really had to shift from that thinking and just think, okay, like, what else? Who can I serve? Like service over self was always kind of my mantra.
That's good.
I
love that. It's wild what Christ will do into that shifts that. And I know we're going to get more into the story in a bit, but even starting out of like, we look at Jesus before he did a miracle in Mark 1, he gets baptized by John the Baptist, right? Comes out the water, the dove's there, Father speaking. You see the Trinity in one, like, this is my beloved son who I love, well pleased. And that's how he starts his ministry.
Yeah.
And it was not based off of performance. So he wasn't doing it he was already approved. And I think that's what you're saying is that it's like, hey, I'm already, the external stuff is cool, but I don't need it to validate who God's already said about me.
Yeah. But that's why I really needed to find him.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was constantly just like trying to find that validation. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. You're just like, well, what, I don't know. Like I especially being so young, it was just one of those things where I just felt like I kept having to puff my chest out, like saying, oh, I'm a Nike master trainer or I'm a fitness director at a gym, I didn't have any humility yet, because I felt like I was really trying to prove things. But when and it was really like 5 years into Nike. Like, so I was like fighting for 5 years, just like still like feeling like I still had to be validated every single year. Every year they renewed my contract. I'm like, great. You know, like I felt like I was so attached to that contract and being part of that. But it really wasn't until I found Christ that I really was just like, no, like I am enough. Everything that I am, there's a reason why they found me and the reason why I'm here.
That's so good.
You know?
I love that. This is going to help so many people. This is helping me.
Entrepreneurs and creatives in Dallas, we got something just for you.
We've been hearing that you've been looking for a space to meet like-minded people like yourself. And so March 20th, we have something special called
The Meetup. The Meetup. It's literally a night for us to get into community, to network together. You're going to grow your contacts and relationships in the entrepreneurship and creative space, all centered around Christ.
We got DJ.
Yeah, we got a DJ.
We got worship.
We got worship.
We got matcha.
Coffee, Matcha Bar is going to be amazing. We got a pop-up with yours truly.
SPV Studios.
It's going to be amazing. And I got my friend Chad Gundersen coming. He is the producer of The Chosen. If you ever heard of that show, literally billions of people have watched it all around the world. He's going to be sharing the lessons that he's learned along his journey so that we can make a difference in the marketplace too.
So you got to bring 2 things. You, your phone, actually 3, and your friend.
And your friend. Make sure you bring someone. Get your ticket today, March 20th, 6:30 p.m. in the Design District in Dallas. We can't wait to see you there. The Meetup.
I was on a call yesterday. I won't go on all the details of it because we're still working out some of the details, but like very big opportunity for Faithustle.
Wow.
Could be a great partnership. And before I got on the call, and this is something where I've had to deal with in my own self, truthfully, of insecurity, intimidation, something that the Lord's had to really work on me through. And I remember the Holy Spirit was like, when you get on this call, do not beg. And he was like, you are not begging them to try to do, no. You are providing them an opportunity to be a part of what I am doing through you. So don't go in here like I'm desperate to like, you know what I mean? And I that shifted me. And it was like the Holy Spirit being like, no. Oh. But and we talk about this at Shoreline, right? Put your shoulders back.
Yep.
Like, yes, we're humble. We have humility, but humility is not like
shrinking.
It's not shrinking.
Yeah.
It's you can have confidence because like I'm not standing on my own accord. Paul talks about it. I don't boast in my strength. I boast in my weakness. It's like where I'm weakish. Like my strength comes from the Lord. You know, and so everything you're saying is just so like. It's such a necessary mindset shift for people.
And it's like I didn't have peace until I had that, you know, because I felt like I was constantly I felt like if I didn't get my contract renewed, who am I? You know, I felt like I was so, like I it's based on performance and validation and all of the chosen by the brand. But I mean, I was already chosen.
You're already chosen. But you know what? That's the thing that I've found a lot of athletes deal with.
Yeah.
I got a guy in my small group. He spent his whole life playing football. Yeah, had some bad energy. I mean, literally, like for the age of 22, I think he had like 4 knee surgeries or something like that. Crazy. Just like so.
That's where his identity is.
Yeah. So he had a massive identity crisis. This is all I was set for the pros. This is all I was known for. This is the only thing I know how to bring value to. And it's like, if you're not identity's not rooted in anything else. You'll think, I'm done. I have nothing else to get. I have nothing else to give. If Nike doesn't give me a call, who am I? You know, like, I'm going to work for New Balance?
100%.
Sorry, that's a joke. That's a joke. I have New Balance as well. But I am wearing Nikes. Shout out to Nike. I am wearing Nike today. No, but you know what I mean?
But it's so funny how we tie so much to titles, because even when we talk about, you called me a bass player earlier, and it's so funny how it just kind of gave me this little like feeling, because before I started playing on worship team, I laid down my bass because it was an identity that I tied myself to being this person that I wasn't proud of. I mean, I was literally partying on stage, drinking, like taking shots on my knees, just like my lead singer would have to carry me home because I was just partying nonstop. And it was just a part of me that I just didn't like. And so I did, like when I even like my basses are just hanging up at the house. People are like, oh, are you a musician? No, like it was just like a part of me that I just felt like, but it's funny how we hang on to these titles, right, and these things. And so but it's kind of cool to bring the story back now that I'm
It's
back
redeeming
on
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know, and I just love it because I mean, I'm literally just getting goosebumps thinking about it. And even just the first time I played bass was when you saw me audition in 15 years.
Wow.
So it was just so like
Dang.
like the Holy Spirit really filled me that day, and it was incredible. And it's fun to be able to call myself a bass player again, you know. But it's just weird because it's we really tie a lot into those titles that we have, and an identity, and that was a part of my life that I was like, But now it is redeeming. It's healing.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Okay, there's so much more I want to get into. Obviously, I want to get into your testimony. I also want to get into some of the practical things because you went from working with Nike, and then you've built your own personal brand, and so you're training people online to your own app, which I think which by the way, the way we met was through the app that you use.
Oh
so shout out to Rob,
yes,
who connected us. It was like, this girl, I think she goes to your church, and she uses our platform, Uscreen. And so anyways, shout out to Rob. Yeah, shout out to Rob
Filipino.
for connecting. Yes, Filipino. Actually, he'll be here end of this month. We're gonna get to, and so anyways, I would love to hear your journey of like kind of building in personal brand and how that has led to kind of your business kind of evolving from just like kind of relying on one source. It's like it sounds like you kind of made your own source,
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we think about all the different things that I do. We were just talking about it. You were like, oh, have you done this? I'm like, I have so many different like outlets. Yeah. And, I first became a trainer, and I was fitness director. Then I became part of Nike, and my Nike contract it was a weird world at the time because it was 2018 when I first, was like really just kind of diving into figuring out what it is I wanted more from Nike and my relationship with Christ. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm training clients. I'm with Nike. I want stability though. Because back whenever I was in contract with them in 2018, the way they did it was if you were doing great in your community, they give you a contract and they say, hey, like you have a day rate. And so if you have a day rate and you're being used, you make bank because you're working a lot. And thankfully, praise God, I was being used a lot, so I was making bank. But the only thing is that it wasn't consistent. And that was the only thing that I didn't love. Is so I was always praying, and I was like, I want consistency. I want to be able to know how much I'm going to make every month. Because at this point it was great. I mean, I was getting used, so I knew I was getting a big check, but then I didn't know when the next one was coming. So that was what I was praying for. I was really praying for that stability. And so 2019 came around, and Apple reached out to me, and they asked me to fly to New York, do an audition. I don't even really know what I was auditioning for, and then later in 2019, they asked me to go to their headquarters, and they literally sat me down just like this with Jay Blahnik, the VP of Nike or Apple Fitness, and they handed me a piece of paper. I had to sign NDAs before that, and they offered me a contract of guaranteed pay, literally everything that I prayed for, guaranteed pay, benefits, all of the things that I was literally praying for. And I remember like feeling just like, oh my gosh, but I didn't even know what I was signing up for. And so this all kind of ties in because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm building, right? And I'm like, okay, like now I have a job. Like, because before it was like a contract, and I was like, okay, now am I signing up for a job? Am I doing that? I have no idea what I was signing up for, but I was literally just trying to be obedient and just doing what I needed to, what I prayed for. I was like, okay, I got this thing. This is what I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Right. And I'm so happy that I did, because Apple Fitness Plus has impacted so many lives. I love the people that I met there. I've learned so much from the leadership. I have met some of my best friends there. But it's so funny when you learn like different rhythms of your life and your different seasons. When I was there, I got to do pregnancy program, postpartum program, but I realized like there's different season and different rhythms that Nick and I wanted, my husband, for our lives. And so we were like, is this really how we want to, do I want to go to a job every day? I'm not really sure. And so he got offered a job in Texas.
Oh, which was, I didn't realize that's how he got here.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he's from here, but he got offered a job in Texas, which was so wild because we were just like not sure. We were praying about it, not really sure what it was and should I leave this steady job, the thing that I
Right.
was, really comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got offered the job. I left, and it was just so scary at that point. But all that to say, when I moved back to Texas, I was like, moved to Texas. I didn't know anyone here.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew his family, some of his friends. I had no community, and so I had to like create my own like environment, on my own like
Yeah.
things, and I didn't really know if I could. I was like, can I start my own app? Can I do all these different projects? Like, should I start my own podcast? I had no idea at this point. I'm about to leave one of the biggest companies.
Yeah, I mean,
after leaving one of the other biggest companies.
Yeah.
And it was insane.
Yeah.
Like people thought I was insane. They're like, as a trainer, like that's
You
the
can't
best,
get any higher.
Yes, like it was the best job ever.
Yeah.
And so when I got to Texas, we moved, left Apple, and thankfully I was able to call Nike, and they immediately were like, "Yes, we'll take you back." And so I'm just so grateful that they did, because, and we can talk about more of the like the nitty-gritty of the, because of the relationship that I built and how important that, and we really just like built. I built trust with them. I built authority with them, but also what was cool is that I said. Back in the day, 2018, feels like yesterday, but it's kind of wild.
It's almost 10 years.
I know, it's kind of wild to think
8 years
about.
ago, it's crazy.
Kind of scary to think.
I know, yeah, it's going fast.
It's kind of wild, but it feels like yesterday. But back then, you don't even have a retainer or anything. It was just like whatever. But when I left, it was the first time they said, "Wow, should we be giving trainers retainers?" Because Bettina just left. Like one of our top trainers just left us. Like, and from there, they started deciding, okay, if we want to keep a good person, we got to pay them what they're worth, And I didn't come back begging. I was like, hey, look, I now have new experience, new knowledge from leadership at Apple. No other trainer that you guys have here has that. So now I was able to ask for what I felt like I deserved, and they did. And I think and it's building skills, and it's just trusting the process along the way. Like God took me on a little detour from Nike. People know me as Nike, and I tied myself to the identity. But whenever I shifted, I learned so much from Apple, and I just trusted, like, okay, like this is where I need to go. And when I went back, like because I had good relationships and I was a good partner of theirs, boom, they were like, yes, we'll take you.
Wow, that is listen, that was a masterclass in building partnerships and relation. It's funny, that's one of the questions that I had, but I think you did it so well, and I love that. This was not my plan for us to talk about this, but I love this of like knowing your worth.
Yeah,
important. You didn't go in begging, but here's the thing. One of the things I teach our community is they've asked me to like talk on networking, which I'm like, it's kind of weird to talk about networking, but I do it so much,
You're good at networking. You're so connected.
It is a gift. I will say it is a gift. But one of the principles I've learned from it is that you can't make a withdrawal if you've never deposited anything in the account. You can't. So it's like you deposited 7 years, if I'm doing the math right, into Nike. So when you're asking for a withdrawal, it's not from an empty account. It's not just like, pay me what I'm worth. You know what I mean? Like it's like, no, you served.
I put in the
You served well. Like you went above and beyond. You built the community. Like obviously you were one of their top trainers. So it's not like you're asking anything that like it's very well deserved, And I think, because I can hear someone saying that, it's like, all right, I'm about to go to this company and just demand this.
Yeah,
it's like,
totally.
Yes, but
people feel that all the time, like it's a sense of privilege. But I put in the hours, but I also put in a lot of respect. There's like a little tools. I was consistent. I was dependable. I was easy to be around. People always knew that I was going to show up with a smile, but I was going to stand up for what I believed in when I needed to. And being there for 15 years, what's also really cool is when I first started, there are people that are interns that when I first started, and now they're VPs in certain departments. So you got to treat everyone with respect and love, because 15 years later, now they're running the departments that I'm working with. So if you are not rude or not nice, like,
you don't know
where they're going to go.
Yeah,
it's
someone
so
could
important.
be a manager one day, and then they could be your boss or the one signing your check.
Yep.
Okay, so what are things that, so you mentioned that of like just treating everyone kindly. What are some other things that helped you cultivate these partnerships? And the reason I'm asking, because again, there are people here they may be in the training space, but they may just be, hey, they're a content creator or they want to work with brands or something like that. And again, I think the allure of I want to work with this brand, you forget that you're serving that brand.
Yes.
And so it's not just, it's just a check so I can do whatever I want. It's like, no, I have to think of their best interest in mind.
Yeah.
I have to, you're representing them. So that's a big deal. What are your suggestions of like, how can someone build a long-term partnership with a brand or someone that they want to, get in business with?
I mean, integrity is a big one. You have to know what you stand for and know, like, that brand has to know what they're getting themselves into whenever they see you. And specifically with social media, I mean, you have to put yourself out there. You're not going to get a brand partnership if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not putting the hours in of creating content, practicing to make those content. So whenever a brand does hire you and they say, hey, we want you to do this, and you're like, I don't know how to do that. Or you don't even have a team to help you, or don't have connections to ask, can someone help me with this video? I think it's so important for us to have that network of people that can help you if you need to, but you putting in those deposits with those people.
Yeah.
But the integrity thing is big because I feel like a lot of brands want to make sure that they know what they're getting themselves into with that person.
Yeah.
And, with Nike, it's like they always knew Bettina, she's going to show up. She's going to be happy. She is growing every single year. She wants to learn. She's hungry. She's coachable. And I feel like a lot of brands want to make sure that, like you said, you're doing also a service for them. So like if they have a question about content, and like, oh, can we tweak this? You don't want it to be like a fight back and forth. You want to be easy to work with. Like I work with a management company right now for my content partnerships or brand partnerships.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that they always say is like, the companies and the agencies want to make sure that the person is easy to work with. And I feel like if you're being led by Christ, you're more than likely easy to work with, but you have to, you never know.
Hey, listen, it's not always a guarantee. Trust me, I can tell you that right now. It's not always.
You hope that's that way.
You hope, but yeah.
But yeah, and I think it's such a simple thing, but being respectful, answering your emails on time, just like something so simple. It's just being professional. And people don't understand, especially because like social media is it's such an appealing job because you feel like you can do it from home. And like anybody can do it, which anyone can, but you have to put in all those hours. You don't see the hours that the content creators are putting in behind the scenes, like with answering their emails, setting up their LLCs and, just wanting to make sure that they're just setting themselves up for success.
No, 100%. Yeah. It's everything you said was so good.
Friend, really quick, before we keep going, if you're enjoying the conversation we're having in this episode, you're gonna love what we have inside the Faith Hustle Network. What's the Faith Hustle Network? I'm glad you asked. It's more than a podcast. It is a growing community of faith-driven entrepreneurs looking to do business God's way. We do weekly Bible studies, Friday strategy calls, and network with each other in our chats. You even get access to the people that you see on this show to ask your questions in real time and hear their wisdom and strategy that can help your business. Whether you're just getting started or you're scaling something big, this is where faith and business meet. If that describes you, tap the link in the description and get in the room today. Now enjoy the rest of the episode.
Those are it's principle things where we would want, give me a framework of this and da-da-da-da. But it's like, hey, be a person of your word.
Yeah.
Be coachable. Do what you say you're gonna do, right? And just and go above and beyond. Jesus taught this parable of the second mile, where he basically was like, if a Roman soldier tells you to go a mile to carry his things, go a second mile.
Yeah.
I learned that actually, funny enough, from Chick-fil-A, because I worked at an agency and there are clients, and they had this whole mantra of second mile service. So it's like, hey, here's the bare minimum. We go above that.
Oh, see, I love that.
And I'm like, that is what we're called to as Christ followers to do. I mean, if we just abided by like what the word said, we would run the best businesses, because it's all centered around service. It's all centered around. I mean, I even think of Philippians 2, where Jesus talks about, or Paul talks about humility and to think of others above yourself and all those different things, and how Jesus, it says he didn't even count it equality with God. He humbled himself to go to the cross. So just like our Savior practiced.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time at our church.
Yes.
Our pastor loves us of like washing feet. He was like, that's how Jesus taught leadership.
Yes.
And so, because I've worked in enough spaces where I've worked with, you know, maybe celebrities or honestly people who like, they ain't really celebrities, but you know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, like I was on this. I was like, oh, okay, that was like 10 years ago, but okay, you know what I mean? Like, all right, relax. But like, or influencers or whatever. Yeah. And man, you could always tell the people who are like easy to work with, and then the ones that are like super hard of like, and I can only imagine like, listen, if you had Nike on your name, you probably start acting different.
Yeah.
Apple, who are you talking to? But like your posture, every time I've met you, it's just so open, so humble, so kind. And I'm like, obviously that's the work of Christ, but that's what we're all called to. Like we're and again, this is not a lack of confidence. No, you're absolutely confident. You know exactly who you are, who God made you. But you know, that openness, it helps so much when working with companies. So I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to think about that confidence doesn't happen overnight. You know, I feel like you have to put in those reps, like strength training.
Yeah.
You don't just wake up strong.
Yeah.
You know, you have to build in the repetition. You have to continue to challenge yourself. You have to build resilience. That's why I'm so passionate about strength training, because it really just changed my life. It showed me what I could do. And, you know, I'm just so passionate about it because I know that it built confidence in me to be able to show up in rooms, to know that I've endured pain, literally, because you're just, you know, you're putting yourself through pain. Like it's you're choosing to, I mean, it's not, strength training is not, and you saw Grace and Grit. We're just like pushing sleds, doing stuff like you're choosing to do that. But then you're enduring, you know, you're coming out stronger on the other side. And when you can build that confidence through that, I mean, I feel like you just can walk into rooms better. Yeah.
I love it. It's so good. I love how you said that it's over time as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes, experience is we know our confidence we have in Christ, but then there's certain things of like, like just over time you will grow into it. I love that. Okay. I want to now go back and your journey with Christ, because I love to see the comparison from your perspective of even how you viewed business, how you viewed what you do now, before Christ. Yeah. And then now after, because, you know, you were doing this before that full surrender, but now on the other side. I'd love to just hear a bit of that journey.
Yeah. You know, like I said, I was at Nike for 5 years, constantly trying to prove myself. Like I will tell you, I spent every single extra money that I had on certifications, which I think that it's important for people to get continuing education.
Of course,
but like, it was like, I constantly needed to be like, oh, I need this other title. And it wasn't even just to learn. It was like, I need another title under my belt. I wanted to be the exercise corrective specialist or whatever. Like so many different things that I kept telling myself that I needed to be like, okay, like this is me. I'm the Nike, I deserve being a Nike master trainer. But when I finally surrendered and I felt peace and I felt like, okay, it's less about how can I grow? Will I be on TV? Because I remember explicitly telling my best friend, I was like, you know what? I want to be the next Jillian Michaels. Do you know who that is?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I was like, I want to be the next Jillian Michaels, but the nice version. And like, I didn't even know what that meant. I think
because she was The Biggest Loser, right?
Yes, and I just wanted to be on TV at the time. That's all I wanted. Like, I just was like, that's where my thinking was. I just want to be. I want to grow my platform, and for what? I had no idea, and it was so empty. You know, and really, when I surrendered, it became less of God. Can you build on what I'm building, and can you help me grow what I'm building, to God, what do you want me to build? What do you want me to do? You know, and I feel like that when I had that shift is whenever I started thinking, okay, I know I want a family, so maybe I want some stability. Like that's where my shift started thinking with business. And because it was so selfish. Everything I was doing was so selfish for so long. It was, how can I grow? And now I'm thinking, okay, is this in alignment with everything that I want to do? Can I do this with integrity?
Wow.
And then now that I'm a mom and a wife, like, is this little thing that I want to do, is this going to help me still show up to be the best mom, best wife, and still serve them, because they are my first and most important ministry.
Come on. Yes.
Like they are the most important.
Yes, it is.
And so I just really had to, when I shifted, I just feel like it just made everything so much easier to decide like if something was in alignment or not, because I felt like I had a better sense of what I stood for instead of being like, is this going to help me grow? Like, is this going to help me serve? Is this over myself or is this serve? Like, I'm always asking myself when I share on social or if I'm putting something together, like, is this going to bring joy? Is this going to serve someone? Is this going to help someone grow? Because I want to help people grow. That's what I feel like I'm here for. And I know that you're passionate about that. I know our church is passionate about that. It's all about growth. And so if I'm not challenging myself or someone else to grow in a healthy way, like, what's the point?
Right. Yeah, man, it's one, I love that. I love the journey of that. And I know that's like a 2-second version of something that, took years and years. I love that there is, the power of the Holy Spirit is so fascinating to me because he can do like when you surrender fully, there is a difference. Like it is better than any 5-step program, 10-step program, self-help book. It is like, no, there is but there's similar characteristics. It's the fruits of the Spirit. It's having this thing, hey, not my will, your will. So I'm hearing this and I'm hearing like, okay, how can I be a service to others? Okay, my family being my highest calling and pouring into them. I'm like, all these things are that I think even the term fruit of the Spirit, it literally it's the fruit of being with the Spirit. So it's not a matter of like,
what have you produced?
Yeah, what have you produced? Are you working to get this stuff? It's not like, I remember when I explained the fruit of the Spirit to someone and they're like, so how do I get that? It's like okay, today I got to work on gentleness. Okay, all right. I got to work on patience today. Oh Lord, I'm in traffic in Dallas. All right, I got to work on self-control. I got to work on love. I got to work on and it's like no. You just got to be with the Spirit. You have to allow the Lord to sit with him and to be in his presence and be in his word and that full surrender, and he does it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just hearing this and I'm like, I just love that is the testimony of all of our lives. Like, oh, God did it. Like, you want to know why I have the peace? God did it. Like, it wasn't me doing all this work.
Yeah.
I just stayed close to him.
Yes.
And he rubbed off me. You know what I mean?
I feel like before Christ, I was so ambition-led and now it's just Spirit-led.
Come on.
I'm just like, tell me every day I wake up, just tell me what you want me to do today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in.
Makes it a great life. That's what Jesus did. Literally, he said, there's so many times he would just go away from the crowds just to be with the Lord in solitude. And it literally says in scripture, he didn't do anything he didn't see the Father doing. So he would go up the mountain, get his set of instructions, come back down. It's like, all right, we're doing this because he said so. Yeah. And it's like, what a great way to live life. Yeah. But like our ambition, our drive is like, no, but I want to do this.
And we want to control everything. Yeah. And I think that something else that is now in 2026, we are so distracted.
Oh my gosh.
We don't listen. Ridiculous. We don't sit.
No, we don't know how to sit.
We don't. Like, I literally had to delete Instagram off of my main phone because I was just, just scroll. I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. Yeah. So now, and I told, because, for Lent, I was like, maybe I'll give up Instagram. And I was like, I can't. I literally can't.
Yeah. This is my job.
This is my job. So I have my work phone and I was like, okay, I'm only going to use it for work. My personal phone doesn't even have it anymore. Wow. And I feel like it sounds so silly to talk about out loud, but it really is an issue now. Yeah. We are so distracted and we are not meant to process all these different things all day long when we're just supposed to be sitting in our quiet time and just being with him. Yeah. And I feel like we don't do that enough. And I feel like even just the few days that I deleted it off, I'm like, oh, maybe I ought to look at my Bible app a little more. Just like we don't even realize how much we just default to these distractions. And that's the enemy really wanting to just take us away from the things that are most important also just the things that we need to be doing. Yeah. Like to be getting better at our craft. Yeah. Like we should be reading a book. We should be sitting down listening to an audiobook instead. Like there's just so many distractions and we don't need to be there.
No, I mean, listen, I'm guilty of it.
We all are.
I think we all are. And it's funny of how like the enemy's strategy is like, he doesn't have to stop you. He just has to distract you.
Mm-hmm.
But I love where this conversation is going. Okay. So that's been the turn here. So now where I want to kind of get us to a close to is grace and grit. Because when we first met, we got to sit down and I'm like, this is so dope. I'm like, and obviously I'm going to have you explain it, but I'm like, from my perspective, I'm like, this is a faith and fitness event. They're praying, they're working out, they're doing small groups, and Nike's paying for it. I'm like, this is wild. Like, and so I got to hear like, how did the Lord speak to you about it? How did it even come up? Because I know it kind of happened organically, but I'd love to just hear that story because I just think I'm trying to give some inspiration for people who are listening of like, wherever sphere God puts you in, like that's your ministry. This is like, use this for the glory of God.
Use your gifts.
And so I'd love for them to hear that story.
Yeah. Well, I came out to Dallas, not a lot of community. Yes, I still have a contract with Nike, but I'm not in the cool cities. I'm not in New York. I'm not in Chicago. I'm not in LA. I used to live in Chicago and LA, so I was always doing all the stuff out there. And I was in Oregon at the headquarters, so I was always leading workouts. So I really missed training people one-on-one or in groups because I do some one-on-one now, and I connect with people online, and that's fun. And I did my app so I can connect with more people and serve more people. But I missed that connection with people in person. So not really knowing that many people out here, I was kind of like, you know what, maybe I'll just start like doing this little thing with my girlfriends. And I had a few girls that I met through some people from Shoreline, and was connected with a few other moms. And I was like, you know what, I want to just lead a workout. I was 5 months postpartum with Makoa, my third baby. For those of you that don't know, I have 3 kids.
She does not look like it at all. That's what I'm saying.
3 young kids. And Makoa was 5 months postpartum. And I was like, you know what, Nick, I think I'm going to do this little like workout thing. And I really want to lead it with prayer and intention. And then let's do our workout. I want to lead them through a workout. And then let's break out into groups afterwards and just chat and, pray for each other and just encourage growth. And at first I was thinking, oh, I'm like doing something for them. I'm sharing my gift with them.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was like I'm having them come to the house. They can drop their kids with Nick, and Nick is just playing with the kids. So I really thought I was giving them something, but really I was gaining so much from them. Yeah. The community of God-fearing women. I've grew so much in the past year because of them. Like I was selfishly thinking, oh, I'm serving, it was fulfilling my cup. But it really wasn't until I think I was like 6 or 7 months postpartum, so that we had already been doing this for a few weeks. I was having bad panic attacks. And I never experienced this. And I think it was a mix of hormonal / just overwhelmed being a mom, trying to do it all. And I'm not used to being vulnerable. I'm an only child. My mom is a single mom.
I'm an only child too.
Hey!
Come on. That's where our energy comes from. Yeah, we got to be the life of the party. Yeah.
But I'm not used to being vulnerable. And my mom, just being a single mom, she was always trying to she didn't want to ask for help. So we never asked for help. And I feel like it wasn't until I had that community where I kind of almost felt comfortable. Like I texted one of the girls and said, hey, I'm experiencing this. Can you pray for me? And then she spoke up at the end of one of them. She's like, hey guys, Bettina needs prayer. And I was like, I remember just kind of like, I was not ready for it yet, even though I was still growing more and more. And I just wasn't ready to surrender that like, oh, I have this thing that I'm going through. But I mean, praise God. I remember Chandler just laying her hand on me, and I did not have a panic attack again after that.
Come on. What a testimony.
And it's just so incredible to see that I thought that I was doing something for them, but the community and the connection that not only we got with each other, but the connection that I grew with God. Yeah. It was just such an incredible thing. But grace and grit, I called it grace and grit for fun because I was like, like we're all given grace. I want to help you build grit, just kind of a fun thing. But whenever Nike saw that I was doing these like little workouts, I would post about it, and I was like, hey, you know what? I didn't even have a handle on Instagram. I was just posting about my girls hanging out with us and doing workouts. They're like, hey, like we'll support you with whatever you whatever you're doing, and Like we're happy to give people product to encourage them. I'm like, yeah, sure. They're like, yeah, and also as part of your new contract, do you want community stipend to do these events? And I was like,
community stipend?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I
Absolutely.
do. Yeah, would love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember even just meeting with you. I mean, we set a date, and it was like January 10th, and I met with you, and I still like didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I remember just praying on it. I didn't really know. And then I met you. We met for coffee, and you just encouraged me so much. And I remember just like thinking of all these things. I don't even know if people are going to show up. There's only like a couple of tickets sold. And January 10th came along. We were like sold out completely.
Come on.
Just
packed.
Great energy.
Oh, everyone was just so full of, listen, I'd be smiling too if I got free Nike shoes.
Yes,
Which, by the way, all of us got free Nike.
Yes.
Thank you, Nike. Literally, I had 2 free Nike shoes, a backpack, my jumper, like my whole suit, and like that. I'm like, this is but like, genuinely, there was this feeling of community of people who didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
But you're there for similar, and I'm over here just like, one, as a proud friend, seeing you in your element, but just like seeing people get vulnerable.
Yes.
Like they're crying right before they're doing the workout and praying for each other. I'm like, this is amazing.
It was and it's funny because before I was like, let's do that, because the way we did it in our private, in our backyard, was we prayed, and then we did the workout, and then we connected in our groups. But I was like, you know what? I want to break down barriers before we get into the workout, because I want people to be vulnerable.
I love it.
Because I needed that.
Yeah.
I really needed that.
Yeah.
So I wanted other people to have that moment. So we chose 4 different seasons of life. We had motherhood, we had men of strength and faith, and then we had living with intention and longevity and thriving.
Yes.
So we had 4 different groups, and we encouraged everyone to split out into a different group, whatever season of life they felt like they fit. And yeah, it was incredible. I heard women crying afterwards, and people just coming up, the men, like and I know it's hard for men to be vulnerable. So it was incredible to see that. And I don't know. I couldn't, I was so fulfilled to see that happen. And then like people just coming up to me afterward, just saying, wow, like this is everything I needed and more. And we have so many testimonies that people just send us messages afterward. And now we already have 55 tickets sold for our next one.
Let's go.
So
that is wild.
We're like almost sold out already. I'm like, okay. And it's not even until May. So it's kind of incredible. It's cool to see that people are encouraged. And obviously free Nike stuff's cool. And it's cool. But like, I feel like people really just love the experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you crafted you have an incredible team, and they went above and beyond, and had matcha and had DJ and all this stuff.
Yes, coffee.
Yeah. I almost said holy water.
Yes.
It was amazing. And again, like for me, what was the most impressive was seeing just your story unfold of like how God's put you in this fitness space.
Yeah.
I mean, to the highest level that you can get. And you being so set of like, no, we're gonna use this for the glory of God.
Yes.
And just seeing the relationship that you built with Nike of like, I mean, to my knowledge, they don't really get involved in faith stuff like that, but they value you.
Me, yeah.
And
the relationship that we built for many years.
For 15 years. And so I'm like, man, how many other people who are in positions like that, maybe in other industries and other spheres and faces, and it's like, God's like, hey, I'd love to use you for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're just open to it.
Yeah.
What if you had to dream of the future of this? I know you just did one, but I'm already my brain, I'm like Chicago, LA.
No,
let's go.
totally.
You know what I mean?
Nah.
But if you had to dream of like where you would want it to go.
So we've already been getting so many messages about, hey, is this going to come to a different state? And I was like, oh my gosh, like Faithustle did a tour. I mean,
it's possible. If I can do a tour, you can do a tour.
It's definitely possible. And I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think the mission is really just to get more people to move. I'm so passionate about strength training.
Yeah.
We call it Grace and Grit Athletic Club, but it's not just for the athletic.
Yeah,
I want the unathletic to come because I like fitness is fun, but I want to show people like how to train and how to like empower their bodies. And because, our bodies are a temple.
It is.
They really are.
It is,
and the better that we can show up for ourselves, the better we can show up for everything that we're called to be. And I just know that the more we can get people to just challenge themselves and grow, not just in their bodies, but in their spirit, like the possibilities are endless. So I don't know if we go on a tour to different places. I've already spoken into existence that we're in 2027. We're going to go somewhere. I don't know where, but I've said it. I met with Candace from Holy Water, and she's like, "What about a location?" I was like, "I don't know about all that, but maybe, I don't know. We'll see." There's just so many like things that have come to mind. But I mean, I'm just so passionate about the people because I was a beginner once. I didn't always work out. And I feel like a lot of trainers, at least in the performance world and strength and conditioning world, they work on performance and they want to challenge people that already work out. But I have such a passion for people that have not worked out or have maybe taken a break, or women that are in a season of life like postpartum or pregnancy. Like, I really just want to encourage people just to meet themselves with where they're at and not compare themselves to anybody else. And,
I love that.
And it's all because God just wants you to just be here with him and just be.
To take advantage of, and I'm working on my fitness journey as well. I'm doing the meals and all that different stuff. And I know I have a ways to go of where I want to.
Everybody has a different point in their journey.
Yeah, where
right?
I want to get my fitness level at. But part of it is like, I got this able body.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing with it? I was born with like limbs that work and like, all that different stuff. And like, it's like, am I grateful for this? Is like, am I starting? You know what I mean? And so, I love the message that you have and that you shared, because it was just so good. Oh my, I wish we could be here longer, because there's so many other things I want to say. Or have you speak into, but honestly, everything has just been so beautiful, and it's been spirit led. It really has. If there's one last thing you could leave with people, again, like, I think we're gonna get a lot of people who are inspired that maybe maybe in the fitness space, or they're just different spaces, and they want to use it for the glory of God. What would you tell them? Like, if you could give them a recommendation?
Yeah, I think it's always important to make sure you're building for the glory of God and not your own, especially in the fitness space. Because I feel like there's a lot of noise out there. And with growth comes a lot of noise. There's going to be so many people, distractions like we talked about. But it's important that you stay rooted, because if your roots are in there and planted so strong, the noise isn't going to shake you.
That's good.
And I think it's just so important for us to just remember that not everyone is going to celebrate your light. And more than half the time when you walk into those rooms and people want to dim your light, you cannot dim that light, because that's what God has given you. You can't just... And I just know we have to build that confidence. And that's why I'm passionate about strength training, because I know it's going to help you build more confidence to walk into those rooms.
I love that.
So
I love that. You are incredible, my friend. I am so grateful that we're in community together. I get to just learn from you, and honestly, just to do life with you and your family. And I'm excited. I'll put the link to the next one. Hopefully by the time this comes out, hopefully there's still tickets left to the next one in May. But thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Faithustle Podcast. We hope you felt challenged, encouraged, and equipped to walk out your faith hustle. And if you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on YouTube or any audio platform. As well, leave us a review. It helps us so much in our ratings so we can get the word out to more people. Each week we have these conversations with business owners who build their business God's way. And so we look forward to growing with you on your faith hustle journey. We'll see you next time.